We would like to thank our amazing sponsor, Touring Plans Travel. Their destination specialists are experts in smart travel and are there to help you plan an amazing Disney vacation. Whether you are looking at Disney World, a Disney cruise, or anywhere in the world, they will book you an amazing vacation and it costs you nothing. Their services are completely free, so head over to touringplans.com/travel and tell them Rope Drop Radio sent you. Now, on to the show.
Helping you navigate the Disney parks.
With the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
You're listening to Rope Drop Radio.
Welcome to another Rope Drop Radio. Derek and Doug talking all things Disney. And Doug, when this show comes out, we have to record a little in advance because I am going to be on my longest Disney vacation ever.
I know, you're normally like a 3-night type of guy.
That's the kind of guy, that's what we could afford and that's what we like to do, rope drop to park close. But this time we're going to take our sweet time, enjoy Walt Disney World and the Disney Wish. So that episode should be coming out and really looking forward to it, Doug. But yeah, this is officially the longest Disney trip and vacation that we have ever taken.
Yeah, so a little tease about our topic today on
exactly.
Link the Stay. And talking about stays, we're having a rope drop trip September 11th.
Not a long stay. We need to do a 9-day rope drop radio trip.
Man, we do.
Yes.
We really do. Do the Star Cruiser, do some time in the parks, go on a cruise, all of it. But this time it's September 11th through the 14th. On the 11th, we will meet up at Buzz Lightyear, do a Galactic Hero Challenge, see who can get the high score at like 4:30 or so. Then the next day, Monday the 12th, we will be eating and drinking around the world that evening, starting at like 5 at La Cava. And then on the 13th, Tuesday the 13th, trumpet squid hunting at 10 a.m. Meet at Min and Bill's Dockside Diner, and we'll go look for the trumpet squid together. And then on the last day, the 14th, our meetup will be at Gaston's. After we
will get a cinnamon roll. Everyone is welcome. I will get a cinnamon roll.
Extra icing for everyone.
Yes, on me. I will get icing. Everyone gets it on me, Doug. I will pay for the second icing shot.
Yes.
There you go. You have to buy the cinnamon roll. I will get the icing.
It's free already, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's still on me.
It's on us.
It is. Absolutely. We love it. So Gaston's, it's the best place to go. So we hope to see you there. I know a lot of our Patreons will be coming out for that trip. So a new Patreon joining the Rope Drop Radio community. Holly, thank you so much for swag and bonus episodes. Got some good ones coming up after this week. And of course, shout outs to some longtime Patreons, Anne Marie, Amira, and Dylan Gamble. Thank you so much for being a part of the community and supporting the show.
Yes, thank you very much, patrons. Also, thank you to everyone that's left a Apple Podcast review. We love to get them, and we love to read them. And this one is titled Love, Love, Love by Magic Key Mama. I was wondering, Derek, do you think this is a reference to the Magic Keys at Disneyland?
That is a deep cut right there. That's going way back.
That's not way back. It was recently back, but then gone because of lawsuits and then maybe back. I don't know what Disneyland's going to do with their annual pass, but we'll see. Anyway, on to the review. Love this podcast. I needed a new podcast to listen to on my way home from work and found this one. You guys are so funny. As a Disney mom/wife, it's funny to hear Disney from a dad/husband perspective. There you go.
I like it. So maybe one day we have to have our wives on to talk about maybe a Patreon episode. Have them on to discuss what it's like to be married to Disney dads.
It'd just be a lot of eye rolling.
It would be. And all of our listeners and Patreons would hear it from there. So anyway, let's talk more about our show today. We are going to discuss how long your Walt Disney World vacation should be. This is a topic that was trending on social media last week. And I said, Doug, we need to discuss it. So should it be a short 3-night or a full holiday of 10 plus nights? There are pluses and minuses to each. To help with this topic, we have invited on a destination specialist from Touring Plans Travel. She has done a ton of Run Disney and Disney parks from Paris to Hong Kong. She has explored numerous cruise lines, but Walt Disney World is always home. Welcome to the show, Jen Upton.
Hello, hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jen. Let's start with you giving the rope droppers a little bit of your Disney background.
Well, Walt Disney World is definitely home for me. That was the park I visited as a kid, thanks to Mom and Dad. Took me on several trips, family trips in the 80s and the 90s. I spent a whole semester there in the fall of '98 on the Walt Disney World College program. Then I was a Florida resident after I got married. We lived in Fort Lauderdale, about 3 hours away, so we had Florida resident passes and made lots of quick weekend trips, of course, on a newlyweds budget. Headed up the highway and visiting when we could here and there. And then we had 2 babies on the same day and moved home to Kentucky. So I've got some experience now taking kids at every age from not quite 2 to 18 on different types of trips in the parks, around the parks, through the parks, and got that parent experience in addition to being a travel agent, which I started almost 10 years ago, planning trips not only for myself but for all my clients too.
Well, that makes it sound like you'll be a great one to answer the length of stay, because you've done it at every different level there as a planner and a parent and newlywed, and we got a lot to dive into here then. All right, so I say we get right into the topic. Length of stay is a big one. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer.
But if you ask this on social media, there's a lot of answers. That is what I've learned.
A lot of answers. Yep. But let's see what answer answers what. Is that a phrase we can use? What answer answers what?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right. So when it comes to trip planning, there's lots of things to consider for Walt Disney World. One of the key components is definitely length of stay. So let's start with short stays. What are the benefit of a short stay, like 2 to 4 nights?
That is a really quick trip to me. That's a quick little hit, your little magic fix especially for frequent visitors to pop in, hit their favorites, catch up with all the changes and updates, and then pop back home. So, when you got to get your fix, you'll take it any way it comes, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a quick fix sort of thing. Derek, you've done a lot of
this
short
was the Sassman special for a long time. And the benefit...
What made you do it?
Mostly it's what we could afford. When we were newlyweds and had really little kids working with our destination specialist, it was like we could only afford usually 2 nights or 2 or 3 nights, 2 days at the parks, and we would go from Rope Drop, thus Rope Drop Radio, all the way to park close and try to park hop and do as much as possible. But it really came down to the financial part of it. And that was what was beneficial and made the shorter trips worth it, was that, okay, we only had X amount of dollars, so let's make the most of it and do as much as we possibly could. Now, the negative, we were beyond exhausted, and our kids would be like passing out on the airplane, and like the next day at work for both of us was just worthless. But yes, we did a lot in some of those days, Doug.
Yeah, you jumped ahead to the disadvantages there.
Oh, okay, sorry, yes.
I got one advantage I wanted to share is you can go rope drop to close. You don't need that nap time. If you have 2 full days in the park, say, like, you don't need rope drop
skipping
the
nap time. All right.
I would skip the nap.
Okay.
Like, even on, like, maybe 3 days in the park, you skip that nap because you can.
We've done a couple of these recently, Doug.
There, right? So that's one advantage, is you can power through, and yeah, the day after is not any fun. Any other advantages? So we got budget, you can go rope drop to close, really squeeze it in timeline wise, because sometimes that's all the time you have.
Yep.
Yeah, if that's all the time you have based on work schedules or school schedules, and if you're planning last minute, especially, maybe that's the only availability, resort availability you can find.
That's a good one.
That's a good tip.
All right, now onto those disadvantages. Derek's already hit the big one. You can be exhausted after a short trip. It is a trip,
you can
not
be
a
exhausted
vacation.
After all of them, so there you go. Yeah.
Don't give them.
I know, not give them all.
You can. I was exhausted after a cruise. You're supposed to relax on.
Yes.
I don't know. Any other big disadvantages, Jen?
Well, I always wonder, with the cost of getting there these days, it depends, again, where everybody is, how far you're flying from. But if you're going to spend for airfare and transfers and all just the transportation costs to get there, are those shorter stays, are they truly more economical when you look at the big picture? But then on the other hand, with discount airlines or being able to drive in, it goes both ways.
That is a great point. Is your transportation cost worth 2 full days in the park? Maybe you need to extend it. I mean, that's something that I like to take into account. Like when we went to Europe, like I want to make it worth that airfare cost, right? Same thing for going to Disney World.
Yeah.
Especially now that you got to pay to get from the airport to the parks.
Yeah, and as much drama as flying has been with the little moment that all the airlines are having lately.
Yeah, flying. It's fun.
Fun? Really? That's a disadvantage. Another disadvantage for me is missing a park. So when we were trying to make it more affordable and going only for 2 days, and when we had a really tight budget, we would skip a park or two. I remember we did a lot Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios or wherever the new thing was. And so there was a good 4 or 5 year run that we never went to Epcot. So they didn't open anything new. Now Epcot's finally opening things up to make it go. But yeah,
all the new things.
But yeah, we went a solid chunk of my life without going to Epcot, mostly because we couldn't afford it. And because when you go to Epcot, you spend money on eating and drinking around the world. But that was one of the both pros and cons of those short trips.
Well, another disadvantage of a short trip is like you mentioned, missing a park. One way to add that park back in is to throw Park Hopper in there.
Yep.
But is Park Hopper worth it for only 2 days or 3 days? Right? It's a big expense.
And you're just going to barely hit the highlights in each park.
Yeah, right? That would have to be your goal, is to e-ticket. Wow, that's hard to say. E-ticket in all the parks, right? If that's your goal, then park hop, do those. But if your goal is to enjoy like a park thoroughly, then hopping really doesn't make sense. And so you do miss out on things. So you got to pick and choose what you're going to do with the short stays. I think we hit all the big disadvantages. The cost to travel, is it worth it missing out on parks?
I'll put it this way, Doug. I don't do short stays. I don't do the 2 days anymore. So when the show started, I was really big into that, and we have grown and evolved since then.
And you were like, what are you going to do for 7 days, Doug?
I remember saying that.
You're asking me that, and I'm like, the things, Derek.
Everything.
I'm going to do the things
Everything.
And take a nap. And spoiler alert, you don't do everything. So let's move on to the mid-length stay type of trips. So we're talking like 4 nights to the 6 nights, maybe into that 7 range a little, but almost a week, not quite a week, more days than there are parks, right? So we're talking like maybe 5 park days. What are the advantages? Jen, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, you can really spread it out a little more. Of course, 1 day per park, 4-day tickets. That's really common. If folks can get in 5 or 6 days worth of tickets, that's when I start to recommend park hopping and kind of flexing your schedule with mornings and evenings when you've got a little more time. Take that midday break. Whether you nap or don't nap, I always say, you take the kids to the pool, let them change clothes. The kids aren't going to sleep. The parents might. But when you've got the extra time, you can do that a little more. And park hopping lets you flex your mornings and evenings, especially when you get into fall season where the Halloween parties are happening, the Christmas parties are happening. Do those Magic Kingdom mornings with lower crowds, and then use your hopper to hop to different parks on party nights. So, 4 to 6 nights, 4 to 6 days in the parks. People always say, well, we're going to take a whole day off. We're going to take a whole day off and just do the pool. And that's one approach. Another approach is to add that extra day to your ticket. You guys know once you're starting to get 4, 5, 6 days, each additional day is not that much. So, I generally recommend that folks go ahead and get that extra day on their ticket. And even if they don't use the entire day, they're still getting the value from it. Use that as a day you sleep in, but then you've still got time in the parks that evening to entertain yourself.
Yes, that's a good one. That full park or non-park day always baffles my mind. Because if it's a rainy day, the pool is no fun. But you can still go to the parks in the rain. Like, especially if there's like scattered showers to where the pool's constantly open, close, open, close. That's no fun to be at your resort trying to entertain your children. But guess what is pretty easy to entertain your children with? A few hours in the park.
Nailed it. I like that. Yep.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with length of stay. That's every stay, right? Derek, any advantages to those mid-range trips that you like?
I'm realizing 5 to 6 nights is about my favorite with this, and we'll probably dive into this more later. But it's just good because, and Jen, you said this, you're getting to all the parks, and I love park hopping, so you're going to ensure that you are getting all the e-tickets that you want to get done. What is that number one thing you want to get done? Great, you're going to get that done. I know for us, like we almost now are booking a half day for just Galaxy's Edge. We know we want to do all the things there and eat and stuff like that. So when you stay a little bit longer, you're able to plan a little bit better on exactly what you want to do. So that's one of the big advantages. And I know, Doug, thinking about this episode, it was when we stayed at Coronado, not you, I mean, when I went with my family, and it was our first 5-night trip, and we did half day at a pool. I mean, yes, we went back for an afternoon. It was hot, and we swam. That was a game changer. That is when I started to think, these 3 nights do not work for me, and my kids did enjoy the pool, and I probably didn't take a nap knowing myself, but It was nice to go back and rest. And so that is something that I am now liking a lot more about these mid-range trips.
That's a great point, Derek. I just want to real quick, we have lots of new listeners over the last couple months. E-ticket, when we say that, we're referencing the top tier attractions. Back in the day, Disney had ticket books, E, D, like, the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E. E was like Space Mountain. A was like People Mover.
There you go.
Yeah. That was, tiered. You had less e-tickets. So when we say e-ticket, we're talking about the top attractions. So just a little, FYI. So yeah, hitting those e-tickets. Also, the mid-range trip is where you start to have flexibility. The short trip, you have to plan it and everything has to happen really precisely. There's a little more pressure. And some days, believe it or not, Disney is not magical with rides being open when they're supposed to be.
Wait, what?
Right?
Oh my
it's not
gosh,
open
I'm
in the
writing that
morning,
down.
or it breaks down in the afternoon, or it rains and Test Track's like, yes, we shouldn't have built this outside. Sorry, it's Florida. Right? So the mid-range trips give you a chance to where we've had a night where we went to Hollywood Studios and everything broke. So good news, we were rope dropping there the next morning. So it worked out. And that was like a 5-night trip. 5-day, 6 nights. So we had that little bit of flexibility. And when those were down, it wasn't tiers. It was, you know what, we'll get it tomorrow. Ideally, we would have loved to have done them all twice, right? That's the real goal, is to do things twice sometimes. But mid-range trips, we had that little bit of flexibility. So any other advantages to this category? No, nothing. All right. Disadvantage time. Because there's some disadvantages to this over the short range or the longer. So let's talk about them.
It's again your time away from how much vacation time you have. You got to work with that. You got to work with those school breaks. You guys, I don't know. There's a lot of disadvantages with that nice 5 to 7 night stay. I like it.
Yep, I'm starting to realize as my kids get older, being more strategic with the school trips. And we have actually another trip coming up where it's like, we're actually, booking into, in fact, this trip that we have is booking into my son's first day of school. So, when you start adding on nights, you got to really be careful on sports and school and all sorts of things. So, the only other disadvantage, Doug, is you nailed it with the weather. If you pick a time of the year, I was at Walt Disney World when it was literally below freezing for 2 of the days. Mm-hmm. That kind of ruined 2 of the nights. So it's one of those ones where, it's still not long enough to make sure and guarantee you get to do everything. Also, when is another time Disney's actually going to go below freezing? Knock on something.
At least once a year.
And right. I'm there. It happens.
You're there. Yeah, you got to enjoy that.
Not the last 2 marathon weekends, that's for sure.
Derek, you should go marathon weekend to ensure it's cold. There you go. Okay. Except you don't want too cold because it's 2 a.m. and you're outside.
I'll take cold.
You'll take the cold? Oh, my gosh.
I've never been so cold at a road drop in my life.
We had a trip in 2010 where it was just miserably cold. And I don't ever want to experience that level of cold below freezing at Disney World. It's just not the same. And we couldn't complain because it was like -5 at home. So like you can't be like, oh, I'm cold at Disney World.
See,
No one
what's
cares.
funny
No one
is that it
cares.
was warmer at home, and you and Michelle were texting me all
Yeah,
the
we
weather
were laughing
reports,
at
and I'm
you.
like, oh, thanks. I'm glad it was 30 degrees warmer there.
Yeah, that made no sense. That made no sense. So, all right, or disadvantages. Time off from work, working around school. It's gonna cost more.
Oh yeah.
Because you're gonna pay for more hotel. The ticket cost becomes negligible after 4 days, really, because the tier pricing it's cheaper to go to the park than to go to a water park at a certain point. Or this is my favorite. The people like, instead of adding a 6-day to their park ticket, we're going to go to Disney Springs. You're going to spend way more at Disney Springs than you would have on your 6th day in the park because you wouldn't have bought as much stuff. I'll tell you that. You're also buying more food while at Disney World, but to be honest, counter service really isn't much more expensive than Jimmy John's in Nebraska. I can say that for a fact. Or Chipotle. My gosh, I don't know what they put in my burrito the other day, but I was like, what now? It was more than Pizza Rizzo. Granted, it might have been better.
Oh, it's definitely better.
Depends on who you ask.
Okay.
I'm feeding 2 teenage boys around here, so.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So the cost, depending on what you eat, it's definitely going to cost you more than eating at home. And the longer you stay, the more food cost, the more hotel cost. That's a disadvantage. So, and also you might buy more souvenirs if you stay long. Sometimes the short trips, though, people load up because it's like, we're never coming back or we're going to leave tomorrow. I don't know. Thoughts? Am I crazy?
No, we definitely spend a lot more on souvenirs on the short trips. For sure. You nailed it on that. Like, we hit the Emporium on the way out, and it's like, yeah, we're leaving tomorrow. We just got here. Buy all the things. So I totally can get that.
By night 6 at the Emporium, you're like, let's just go back to the room.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too tired to shop.
Yep.
So that's an interesting advantage. I don't know. All right. Let's move on to the long stay, or the holidays, as the British like to call it. I mean, we're Americans. We don't have 2 weeks to go. So I'm going to say this is 7 to 12.
I know. I met someone once, they were on like day 20, and I was like,
right.
Really? I don't understand.
They're spending their fortnight at I don't get it.
We summer at Walt Disney World.
Right. The United States does not understand time off from work. I understand that. So this is going to take that into account because most of our listeners are here. Our fine friends from the UK, just laugh at us all you want as we're talking about a 3-day trip earlier in the program. But 7 to 12 nights. This is where it gets pretty interesting on some of the advantages and the disadvantages. But let's talk advantages of 7 to 12. First of all, they only sell a 10-day ticket unless you have an AP. But all right, here's an advantage coming from Jen.
This is where a Park Hopper Plus, or you can add the Plus option to a base ticket, but a Park Hopper Plus is not that much more, and this really gives you plenty to do over your long stay at Disney World. Do you guys know how the Plus options work?
Why don't you explain it for everyone?
Oh, lots of people don't understand, and it is tricky. You have to look at how many days of the ticket you get. So if you get a 6-day Park Hopper Plus ticket or a 6-day Plus ticket, you get 6 days in the regular parks, the 4 main parks, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom. You have 6 days of admission to that. You also have 6 admissions to the other attractions. That's what comes with the Plus option. So on an 8-day ticket, you get 8 of them. On a 10-day ticket, you get 10 of them. That's admission to Blizzard Beach whenever it opens back up, Typhoon Lagoon, the 4 mini golf courses. Each one counts as a separate one. And you can also use it for some things like the 9-hole golf course, the foot golf, and the other things keep changing in and out. I think that's what it is right now. So that is 6, 8, 10, however many days of regular park admission you have. You have all of these other things. So those are things you can do on the days you aren't going to the main parks. You can hop between them. It gives you plenty of entertainment over your nice long holiday at Walt Disney World.
What's the time limit on using them? Is it like 15 days, 14 days, 20 days?
It's whatever the ticket length of use is, and on a 10-day, it's a good 14 days.
Okay.
Yeah, and those plus options go on out the same as the tickets, so you've got time.
So you can go to your parks, day in between, add that water park in between. You could do the water park 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
That's
times.
a lot of times at a
lot
water park.
of water park. But
And honestly,
it's good.
the price of one water park ticket, the plus option's usually about the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
even folks
really
that want
close.
like a 4-day ticket and think they'll do a day at the water park, I do a lot of Disney ticket math. I swear Disney ticket math is half my job, but the plus option works out about the same.
That's why I use a destination specialist, because they do the math for me. I'm not good at math, Doug.
We are pros at Disney math.
That's I don't math. Math not me. So that's a great point on these long things. Derek, what's your advantages you're thinking of on these long
I've
stays?
only done one long stay, Doug. Do you remember why it was a long stay?
Because of hurricane.
Hurricane! I got 2 bonus
the hurricane
days.
That didn't hurricane.
Yes, so we had an 8-day trip and we were stuck because of the hurricane. Our flight was canceled for 48 hours. The advantage of that trip, Doug, was no one flew in, and we had one day at the parks where it was empty. And it was probably the most empty it's ever been. But for us, the advantage of is you're going to be able to make sure you get everything done. You do a longer stay, you can really strategize and make sure you get to all the parks. Your kids can be happy that they got to do what ride they want to do. Hopefully you got to the food that you wanted to get done. If you're eating and drinking around the world, you're able to get to every single booth if you do a long trip. So,
Are you?
I think you can.
I
You
don't
can
think
on
so.
a long
I
trip.
could
If
go.
you're doing a lot of Epcot, absolutely.
That'd have to be a goal.
That'd be
I
a
don't
lot of
think I
money.
could. Oh my gosh.
It'd
Yeah,
be-
that's
yeah.
an expensive
See, that's
thing.
so, and that's where I was transitioning. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's definitely it's fun to stay 8 days. But I am very jealous of all the Europeans I have met over the years who are 20 plus days. I don't even know what you do at that point. After about day 8, I was ready to go home.
So if you go and listen to older trip reports of mine from, 2017, 2018, early 2019, we did a lot of the 8 to 10 night trips. Derek can testify to that. We did a lot of those. One advantage, we would resort hop. Sometimes we'd stay in 2 or 3 different resorts, which was kind of fun to check out different resorts. I don't suggest resort hopping on your 3-night trip. That would be insane. Unless you have to, because that's availability, because that's how Disney World works sometimes. Availability. But resort hopping was one cool thing. Getting to see lots of different stuff, really take our time. We never slept in because rope drop, but we took a lot of naps, avoided the heat of the day, saw a lot of fireworks in the evening, much more relaxing at times. At times, it was almost vacation-like. Almost. We don't have those much anymore because of kids' activities in their high school. Yes, we did just do 2 weeks in Europe. Yes, that was just like a month ago. That's not a Disney World trip. You would not find us 10 nights at Disney World right now, because we're going to fly down, fly back, because someone has band or someone has soccer or cross country or, things like that. So there you go. I think that's an advantage, right? It's leisurely and
You can
resort hopping.
And yeah, definitely the split stay. When you split stay between 2 Disney resorts, they'll even move your luggage. So
Yeah.
you pack up your luggage at one resort, and Bell Services will take it to the other resort. Something else you can do is split stay and make a visit to that other place on the other side of Orlando.
Yep.
What place are we talking about? Universal? Yeah, it works in there better on the longer trips.
We did do that on one long trip for sure.
Sneak over there for a day, or end your trip or start your trip there. That's a good way to go, especially now that Magical Express doesn't exist. You're going to have to pay for transportation anyway. You can go from the airport to Universal to Disney to the airport, or in reverse.
Yeah, Universal has easy transportation options that you just bundle right into your package. So it's super easy to put that together. We do that for a lot of folks.
Or you go with me and I rent a car and I take a few wrong turns to get to Universal. Not saying that didn't happen a couple weeks ago before the Wish, but it might have. It might have.
Did your wrong turns take you by the outlet mall?
No, they did not. It was like 11 o'clock at night and a little sketchy. So, yeah, it was that type of wrong
Doug
turn.
driving, little sketchy. That's all you need to know.
It's always a little sketchy with me driving, Derek.
Been there many times.
You can't wait to ride with me in September, can you?
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you're renting a car. All right.
Oh, always, Derek. Always.
Okay,
Unless
okay.
you're going to ride with Alex, which is sketchy in a different way.
That's okay. So yeah, one of the advantages and disadvantages of a long trip is that you have to figure out transportation. And actually,
you do with a short trip too.
That's true. But here's where I go. My thing with longer trips is it does add up financially, and that's the one thing when
Are we going into?
Yeah, I thought we were
now?
moving into that.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay.
It's transitioning
There you go.
for you. Easy one.
Make it clear.
I did.
Transition,
There you go.
disadvantages, Derek.
Not editing this out either. That was
No,
great. So,
it was.
yeah, financially, I know when we got hit by the hurricane and had to stay 2 extra days, it's not like Disney was like, hey, sorry that everything is canceled and you have to stay here. You still have to pay for a room. Yes, they gave us a little bit of a discount, but it does add up. Food, rooms. I still do not understand how the Europeans do it for so long. Also, transportation going to and from different parks. And if you're with Doug, you never know because he's going to take 8 years to get a car anyway. So, but it is definitely a financial investment.
You're probably also going to spend some of your downtime doing laundry.
Oh yeah, Doug's not. Michelle's going to do that.
No.
True. True story. I don't know how.
I've done laundry.
So that helps.
I did it at Destino Tower, so I can say I've done Walt Disney World, and I've done it at Animal Kingdom Lodge. There you go.
Yeah, the good news is laundry is often by the pool, so those two things can go together.
Yep.
Pool and laundry. Yeah, that makes sense. So disadvantages, yes, it's longer. It's got to fit your schedule. The cost goes up. Packing, laundry, are you going to take all your clothes or just some of your clothes and wear them twice? All things to consider. One disadvantage that I found on a long trip was early in the trip, it was really easy to say, we'll get that later. We'll get that next time we're here. Don't worry about it. We'll get that next time. Yep, we'll be back. And then all of a sudden it's the second to last day and you're like, crap, the kids are reminding us of every single thing we said we'll do that later, and there's not enough time to do it all later. That happens. It's legitimate and real. That happened to you guys at all ever? You're like, yeah, we'll do that later, and then the kids are like, hey,
always, every
do
single
that.
trip, every single one, even if it's a 3-night, we'll do that later. We don't do it.
Always later. It's always later.
That's
the
a
kids
negative
always
of
call me
having
on it.
that's a negative of having an annual pass because I tell our kids, hey, you have annual passes. We'll do that next time.
Next time. That's an excellent time to do things too. All right. On to the big question. So we talked about the different lengths of stay, the advantages, disadvantages. It's the right answer for somebody all the time, right? But let's ask it because it's Rope Drop Radio. We want the answers. Lots of people like to ask the question, what is the perfect length for a Walt Disney World trip? What is it, Jen? If someone asks you, what's the perfect length? What are you saying?
I am saying it absolutely depends on you and your family. And that's what I do day in, day out. That's what all the destination specialists at Touring Plans do. We talk to our clients to figure out what they want to do, how much time they have to do it in, and what their budget is to do it with. And then we take all those factors and put together the perfect Walt Disney World trip that is the perfect length for that time. Just because this trip is short doesn't mean the next one might not be longer. It just depends.
It's like she's running for office.
That's the most political correct answer of anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hello,
Jeez.
TA.
Uh-huh.
For real. So non-TA boys. I mean, we do Run Disney trips, and there are times that we hardly go to the parks. Our Run Disney trips, when we run Wine and Dine, it is enough time to get there, hit the expo, run the races, and go to the party and go back home. When we run the Dopey Challenge every year, that's a longer trip. The races are longer, and we like to stay a couple of days after and have our park time because we don't try to do our park time at the front when we're running lots of races. But, every trip's different. It depends on if the kids come. It depends on if the kids are at home with somebody else. It just absolutely depends. And, we work with what you got and what you can do. I do like to get people into all 4 parks, especially if they're not frequent flyers like we all are.
That's a good point. Trying to get people in all 4 parks. I think, what would you say, Derek, before I give my answer? What's your perfect?
5 nights. This is Derek. I thought about this quite a bit and went back and forth on it, and I have realized 5 nights is the perfect amount for me and my family. And don't ask my wife because she would say like 38 days. But I've realized for my personal, with my kids and with my work schedule, 5 nights is, and when my kid's schedule is right for me, I can get to all 4 parks. I can do the dining that I want to do. Usually when I go, there's some new thing or something I need to check out, and so I can make sure I get that in for the show. And financially, we've realized 5 nights every year is about right for us.
See, I like to say 6 nights because that gives you that bonus day
I
to
fly
hit
in
a park
early.
Again. Well, not everybody can handle that, sir. Especially if
Our
it's your
flight
first
this week is
time.
at 5 a.m., so we're good.
Yeah, and then you're exhausted. But if it's your first trip, you're not sure you're ever going again, I like to say 6 nights is a good goal. If you can swing it, you should do it. I don't know. I'm not paying for anybody else's trip, so it's easy for me to say that.
I love when this was asked on Twitter. You got everything from 3 nights all the way up to, like, I saw 14th and 15. So for every family and every person, it's a different answer.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's why we
But
the
this is us.
impossible
I like it.
question.
So that one might be one to ask our listeners. Definitely this week. That's our poll.
That's why the perfect length in our minds is kind of what I like to see people, like if you have the resources, shoot for that 6 night, right? Don't just settle at 4, something like that. That's what my logic is. If you have the ability to do it, go for it. So, all right.
And I'll put a bonus. If you're staying at the Halcyon for a couple nights, then you got to add on a few extra nights.
Yeah, well, then you just book a back-to-back on the Halcyon and do 4 nights.
Oh, I like that.
Weird.
Yes, that would be.
That would be weird. I don't think that works like a regular cruise because it just starts over. It wouldn't be like, oh, well,
gotta
that
give
got
a few
cleaned
months
up.
in between. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
But still,
We
great way
digress.
to start or finish a trip.
All right. Jen, are you ready for
The lightning round.
This is where we ask you questions about your favorite Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and you answer. There are points. They do add up, but they mean absolutely nothing. Are you ready?
I hope. Here we go.
All right. Favorite Disney movie?
Hercules.
Excellent answer.
Good answer.
All right.
Yeah.
Favorite Disney character?
Goes along with Hercules. It's got to be Megara.
Okay, that might be a first.
That's a first
I like
on
it.
the show.
It's a good one.
Absolutely.
All right. Favorite Disney villain?
Maleficent.
How is that not Hades?
Yeah, I was going to go. You set yourself up for Hades, which is one of the best villains.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he is. But
all right.
we got to wonder about Maleficent's motivations. I don't know. It's the live action movie. Change your mind.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, we're good with that. All right. Favorite Disney song?
I'm going back to Hercules. I won't say I'm in love.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Not the song. It's good.
No,
Very good one.
Yeah.
The whole soundtrack's great.
It is
All
a
right.
great one.
Which I think is weird that it's gospel about, Hercules before there's... Anyway, that's another story. All right. Favorite Disney park?
Disneyland. And it's been a long time. I need to go back. So maybe also Hong Kong Disneyland.
Oh. Okay, that might be a first.
That's
Hong
definitely
Kong
a first.
Disneyland.
It was 2010 when I was there. It was cute and tiny, and they've got a lot more going on now.
Yeah.
Not a lot of the people on the show have been to Hong Kong.
I've been to Hong Kong and Paris, so I've got more to go.
All right. Favorite classic attraction? You define classic.
How about Horizon?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I like
wow.
it. Okay, that is classic. All right. Favorite modern attraction? You define modern.
Flight of Passage.
Okay. We'll allow it. Derek, that's Derek's favorite.
It's not my
All right.
favorite. I just like it a lot.
Favorite modern? What's your favorite modern one?
Millennium Falcon, when you know everyone on board.
Okay,
Yes.
with the asterisk.
Yes.
When you can trust them to do their job.
Well, also I can yell at Doug, and then it happens.
We're getting Chewbacca mode at some point.
Yes,
All right.
we are.
Favorite Disney resort?
Beach Club.
Excellent
Good
answer.
Choice, good choice.
Favorite Disney counter service?
I don't know about favorite, but Gasparillas at the Grand Floridian certainly holds the most memories because that is where I spent 4 months working.
That's a different reason for you. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite table service restaurant?
Garden Grill.
Oh, good choice.
Good one.
There you
All
go.
right.
Yes.
Favorite Disney snack? No pressure on this one. Just the most important question we ask.
Go with the classic Dole Whip.
Oh,
Yes.
Team Doug. She listened to
All
this
right.
show before.
So, I mean, you can't not pick Dole Whip. Okay. Favorite Disney drink?
So La Cava has an old-fashioned margarita. And I'm a Kentucky girl, so I like my old fashions, I like my bourbon, but when you put an old fashioned and a margarita together, you can't beat it. Gotta have that.
Okay.
Well,
You know what? I'm doing this on our trip, Doug.
I feel like you have to, Dan.
I'm an old-fashioned fanatic, and I didn't even realize that was a thing. So, all right.
You should read menus.
I should.
It's,
I don't.
Reading's hard.
Yes.
All right.
That looks pretty. I'll take that.
All right. A Disney travel bucket list item.
Adventures by Disney in Japan or Egypt.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
All right. And that concludes
The lightning round. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for being on the show. Why don't you take a minute and tell the rope droppers where they can find you?
You can find me on Facebook. It's Jennifer Upton, Destination Specialist at Touring Plans. I'm on Instagram, Jen_Touring Plans. And that's about to have a whole lot of content added from my trip to Cabo last week, where I went to tour 17 different all-inclusive resorts. So I've got a phone full of photos, got to upload all that. So I'll be showing you Cabo if you're on my Instagram. Email me, jen@touringplans.com, and you can always just go to Touring Plans Travel, request a quote, and choose my name. You can put in that you wanted to go to Walt Disney World, Universal, Disney Cruise Line, any other cruise line, because I book cruises on ships, large and small, that sail on oceans and rivers. Just mentioned all inclusives. So just in case you wanted to take a vacation away from a Disney destination, I can do that too.
Okay.
Excellent.
Who wants to take we're just talking about vacations. Now you got to do it at Disney. That's crazy.
After your trip to Disney, you need
go
a vacation.
and that's when you do the all-inclusive.
That's when
your
Cabo
vacation.
comes in.
So
when you do that 3-night stay and you run yourself ragged and you need a vacation after
All-inclusive.
your vacation, I can do both.
I like it. When's your next, and where are you going for your next Disney trip?
My next Disney trip will be to the Wine and Dine Half Marathon the first weekend in November. I have run that race every year since it started in 2010. So this will be the 13th time that I have run the Wine and Dine Half Marathon. So I am a perfect wino. That is what we call ourselves. There's about 70 of us left. Crazy people who've run that race every year.
And Doug and I will not be running in that.
No.
Yep, just missed out on signups, Doug, didn't we?
Darn it.
Oh,
Foiled once again.
Actually, and a few of our Patreons have asked us, when are we legit running a race? And so
Maybe
someday.
It's gotta be the Wine and Dine. It's gotta
Okay.
be the Wine and Dine. Your half marathon registration comes with a ticket to a party.
That's a good
sold.
point.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't really have to run. We just got to get through it, Doug.
You just
Shuffle.
gotta get from the start to the finish.
That's all we need. All right. Well, thank you, Jen, so much for being on this week's episode. We'll put all your information in the show notes. And we have a Patreon episode we're going to do with you. In fact, we had a couple Patreon episodes we're going to get to this week. And so if you want to hear those, you got to go into the show notes and click that and be a part of the community. And thank you to all of our Patreons for helping support the show. And of course, if you want to book a trip to Walt Disney World, whether it be for a couple days, 23 stays, or any other kind of destination, the amazing destination specialists at Touring Plans would love to help you. So touringplans.com/travel. Click that Rope Drop Radio link. Let them know that we sent you there. But that is all the time that we have. So for Doug and Jen, I'm Derek. You've been listening to Rope Drop Radio.